So I don't know if you saw, but Oscar informed me because he usually watches the first half of the Q&As and then I watch the second half, and we were gonna make it
Okay.
so he just watched the whole thing tonight. However, he messaged me a little bit ago and told me that uh, there's no stream and no there was no like reason why there just like isn't a stream, which is super weird considering like one of the things that he was supposed to talk about was why the Force Will movie YouTube page and Facebook page were
Ooh,
deleted.
had been deleted.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was repeatedly
He's just
asked
not
about it, and he didn't give a straight answer and said he'd be letting us know in a couple days, and we haven't heard since.
weird. Maybe something's happened to Jordan. Ooh.
He's
I
been
doubt it. I doubt it.
no,
Which
I'm
would suck because I need to be paid.
no, I'm yeah, no, because I was worried about the Force of Will movie if that was
I think that
canceled.
I honestly think it's probably canceled.
Because wasn't there? I had mentioned this in one of the news videos, and I couldn't remember, and I totally forgot to. Weren't they? Is the company, so they have casters and architects? Weren't they coming out with another card game next year?
I have not heard of a third card
Okay,
game.
maybe that
I
was
have
just
not
a
heard
rumor.
about that.
I was trying to remember because I know, man, I can't remember, but yeah. Um, And I'm curious because they not only had they started production on it, but they also had the teaser shorts, and that
Yeah,
tie
so
is
the
not
movie
cheap.
so the movie is kind of weird because I think its funding came from some kind of outside sources. I don't know, so this is my guess. That there was some money from the company put into it, and then some money from outside sources put into it. And I think that's where the teaser stuff came from, and they were pushing it, and these other companies were kind of wanting to get it moving along. And something must have happened, and maybe that funding got pulled, which can happen. Um, and so
Yeah,
that's maybe why the movie got cut. I know for the same reason that casters and architects are existing is because other funding pools have been created outside of the funding for Force. Like these other groups have kind of come in and willing to like chip in to make these other games happen. Because like I know that Force of Will's made some weird decisions in the past, but I am doubtful that they would risk their primary IP to try to randomly launch two other games purely by pulling funds from their primary IP. Like that just doesn't make smart business sense. Like in any shape or form. Um, that feels very much like Bushiroad, but Bushiroad also doesn't make the mistake of pulling money from their primary IP. Card fight is still a thing. Buddy fight is still a thing. Like it seems like Bushiroad is releasing a new game every single year, which is just so weird. But it's what they do. Like last year at Gen Con, they were premiering Ascendance of Aethros, which was a sealed game, which I have a copy of because tested it with Zach Tufford was demoing for them at Gen Con last year, and I tried it out. It's actually a lot of fun. It's a little. I don't really like deck builders, but Ascendance is like a field builder, if that makes any sense. So it's a sealed game, so like you buy the game, you have everything you need to play. The artwork can be a little sketchy, but that's Japanese games. So that's what they were pushing, and then around the same time, they also tried to push Luck and Logic, and
oh
that didn't
yeah,
go anywhere. And that didn't go anywhere. So now we have Dragoborn, but like it feels like Bushiroad still understands that it can't pull money from Card Fight or Buddy Fight because then it's gonna die. Because or Weiss Schwartz, but like Weiss Schwartz is even more niche than the other ones.
yeah. And I hadn't even realized. I thought that Vanguard and White Shorts and all that stuff were larger player bases, but they're not in like I was talking to like our local game store, and I didn't realize like they're like because they sell singles and stuff, and they were cutting those off. They had cut off most of them anyways, but those ones they said they're just like not even selling really much anymore.
Yeah, so Buddy Fight, Future Card. Sorry, hold on. So there's Buddy Fight. So okay, so there's Weiss Schwartz, and then the easier version of that is Card Fight, and then the easier version of that is Buddy Fight. Okay, so Weiss Schwartz is super niche, bigger in Japan, like more of just a casual played game here in the States. Like people pick it up, they build a deck, they have fun with it, and that's it. There are tournaments, but it's not really that big. Card Fight has very, very pocketed communities, but when you have those pocketed communities, they tend to be very, very intense. Like when Card Fight sticks, it sticks hard, but it's very hard to get to stick. That's why you see Card Fight tournaments have massive turnouts. Like when they do like these bigger, badder events, because they don't do them very often, but when they do, all of these intense communities go, we're going to that one. So they all and flood it. Future Card Buddy Fight is definitely, as far as I know, geared towards younger audiences, which helps it stick a little bit better. But it's definitely more popular overseas than it is here. But it still sells. Because, I mean, the story of how Card Fight came to be is super hilarious. Like, they made Weiss Schwarz. They created it. It took off in Japan. They were attempting to bring it over to the United States. At least this is the rumor, but everyone I talk to says this is how it happened. So, like, they brought it over to the United States. They gave it to a test group of U.S. players. Those players said, I don't understand how to play this game. Like, it literally was too complicated for them. So then they dumbed it down and created Card Fight. Like, ta-da! That is how Card Fight was apparently created. Because it's just dumber, easier Weiss Schwarz. Which
That's
makes
hilarious.
sense, because
Yeah.
Weiss Schwarz has, like, I don't know, 9 different zones. And, like, it's uber complicated.
That's one of the ones that I never. Well, I haven't really gotten into any of those games. I've done Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Pokemon, Force of Will. There's another one I'm forgetting, and for fun I learned Kaijudo and stuff like that. But like,
Yeah, Kaijudo. I've got like so much Kaijudo stuff.
oh really? I
Yeah, I played that. I got out of Yu-Gi-Oh to get into Kaijudo like super hard, and then right after I got out of Yu-Gi-Oh to get into Kaijudo, Wizards was like, "Yo, we're not doing this game anymore." And I went, "No, no."
Yeah, it was funny story of that because I was gonna start doing a series on our channel of like once every month I'd do a video on a dead card game, and so I was like, oh, first I'll do
Oh,
Kaijudo, and I went to the Kaijudo group and stuff, and right when I was getting ready to do it, I'd bought up a bunch of products, and it's like $2 for a crap ton of stuff. And I was like, hey guys, what can you tell me about this and stuff? And I got like a crap ton of responses. I got people who had worked at the company, and had people who were the top player in the United States and stuff. And I was like, oh geez.
yep.
So I was like,
Yeah,
I
everybody I ever met is just like super passionate about. Like, if people liked
yeah
Kaijudo, they like loved Kaijudo.
yeah no they were. I was talking to like the store owner who was the biggest Kaijudo holder in the U.S. I forget the name of the store, but yeah, no, so I switched it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, I'm gonna take a pin here. I'm gonna do a bunch of interviews and make sort of a mini documentary about Kaijudo and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's sort of been on the back burner. I filmed a couple of interviews, but it's a very slow process. But it's
Oh yeah, I
a
imagine.
really interesting, like, yeah, why it like it wasn't doing bad. It just wasn't doing up to certain
Well enough.
standards. Yeah, so they're just like, we'll just cancel it.
Magic just wanted to focus on better things, which is weird because Duel Masters is still insanely popular in Japan.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's insane. Like, oh, when I went, so this is a funny story. So when I went, so Kaijudo died. Every once in a while, I would just kind of check and see what happened with Duel Masters, because Duel Masters cards are like an acid trip. Like, if you've seen Duel Masters cards now, it's just like, what? And so Duel Masters came out with triple-sided cards way before we had Gil Alhamat.
Oh yeah.
Like, I
remember
have
seeing,
some.
I remember
Like, I
seeing
have
the
some.
joke video that the one store owner did of like, oh look,
Hold on.
I got it.
No, like I have some, because when I was in Japan for Worlds the first time, I made it my mission to pick up some of these triple-sided cards because I thought they were dope. So, like, side one, and it folds up. You have side two, then you have freaking side three.
That reminds me of like that design of it reminds me of those as a kid, the Jacob's ladder where you turn it and it like folds
Yeah,
different.
like
That looks
flips up.
like this
Yeah.
similar design.
So I remember and Saito from Ogre can attest to this. I was, so hyped that I managed to find these, and I just went, how cool would it be if we got a ruler that did this, where you did judgment and then you did judgment again? And we were all like, oh, no way, they're never gonna do it, but it'd be so cool. And then Gil Alhamad happened, and I just went,
Yeah, see,
this.
a lot of people saw that and they're like, "Oh man, you know, it's gonna crease and it's gonna not last as long and sort of gimmicky." And I was just like, "Man, I must be the target audience because I love gimmicks. This is super cool."
Yeah, this is yeah. Woo. It was good.
Before I forget, Oscar was very adamant that I tell you that he says hi,
Hi,
and
Oscar.
he wanted me to tell you that he actually, when he was first trying to learn Force Will, because we were playing Pokemon and he found out about the game Force Will, and so he's trying to figure out how to play it and if we should play it. And how he figured out how to play it was your ruler school videos, and
Ruler School. I need to remake it.
that's how. Well, that's a side question. He wants to know if you're going to be making an updated
I
version of
am.
that. Yeah.
So once I get back from Worlds this year, once Alice Cluster is officially rotated out, and we've got what are going to be the core mechanics, and all of our cards will have the same layout. Um, Once that is set in stone, once Alice Cluster rotates, so I don't have to worry about Regalia, I won't have mixed card types, I'll have nothing but chance with Quick Cast, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Once that happens, I am going to be completely redoing Ruler School from the ground up. If you see right over here in my background, you see there's the map of Ataractia.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm actually like I have a set, like it's going to actually be a set, and like that'll be the backdrop, and I have all this lighting that I can manipulate. I'm going to completely redo it.
That's awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that project, killing myself. But it'll be after Worlds and it'll be the down season, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, no, that'll be cool. Yeah, because I know we had talked about like, man, there's no videos on the new mechanics and stuff like that, and we're like,
Yeah,
oh, should we do videos? And we're like, man, it's
I keep building a script for it, and then they just keep releasing more new mechanics. So it's just like I'm just gonna wait, and
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna wait till Mega Cluster starts. There we go. Because I was also like, how do I address that these cards Regalia are rotating in like a month? And I was like, so
yeah, well, and it's a whole card type. You don't even have to explain now, and
yeah,
it's
I
nice
don't
that
have
you
to
can
talk
just
about it anymore. I don't have to talk about it anymore. I'm just gonna do one video on Wanderer format. I'm like, here's Wanderer format. If you want to learn more about Wanderer format, you're gonna need to know about these specific cards. Okay, now I'm never gonna talk about these ever again.
yeah, and I can
In
use
fact, just for the sake of for like a send off, I've decided that I'm gonna go to locals this week and I'm gonna play the Alhamad OTK, just so that the week after rotation happens, I can put up a video that's just Alice Cluster. We're glad you're leaving.
that.
Like,
Um,
this is the kind of bullcrap that happens with Alice Cluster. Good thing we're never having to play this crap again.
No, I was really sad too. Well, before I forget, it's funny because just today, Oscar and I filmed a gameplay video that was a farewell video to Alice Cluster, and we played Sylvia and Dark Alice, which was our two very first rulers we ever got. I'm super like really sad Sylvia's going because I love Sylvia. I've kept her as a ruler for however year or whatever, but we just did that. But yeah.
So
I was super sad because like when I went to GP and right when during the height of Prussia OTK, and I went there, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I have my Soul deck, and I was like, I'm gonna run Soul, I don't care, and I was doing really good. I got to the top tables for a little bit. And I was like, oh my
nice.
gosh, I'm gonna represent with an outsider deck, and then I hit Prussia OTK and I lost. And I was like, all right, because I created a side deck to counter it, but it didn't
And
work.
then Prussia OTK,
I
and then Prussia OTK.
Yeah, right after that I went against another one and they did the OTK and I killed it before they could kill me, and I was like, I did it, and they
Nice.
banished for imperishable, and they deactivated the next turn. I was like, all right, I killed it, and they banished for imperishable, and they did that 3 times, and I was like, all right, I can't kill it 4 times in a row, and I was like, that's when I was like, all right, I think I might be okay with banning Levitine because At some
Yeah,
point.
I was just glad that I got my invite at Toronto, because I was like the meta just opened up way wider as soon as Horn got banned. I was like, well, got my invite, did what I needed to do, don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, no.
I felt a little scummy, but I tried hard to be really respectful to people, and everyone really understood. Like because Toronto was my last GP. Like I wasn't going to be able to hit anymore after it. This was my last shot, and my deck name is literally Last Chance. Like you can go find it. My deck name is Last Chance.
Yeah.
And all the players I met were super respectful about it. Like I played a guy the first round who was a fan of the channel, and I flipped over Priscia, and he was just like, "Can't fault you for it, man." And I was like, "Thanks." Like it's good to know that people are just understanding that. Like I'm just trying to go back to Worlds. Like
Yeah.
please don't be mad.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it was still yeah. I had like when I was playing though, still like you when you flip and I saw that pressure, just like your heart sinks a little bit. You're like, well, I gave it my best shot. At least I'll have like spare time to go look at
Yeah. At
Barcadia's
least at least
cards,
my
you know.
matches are quick. And I felt it was so funny because at Toronto I played against Priscia in Swiss twice. So I played against Priscia in Swiss twice, and the first time the guy clearly hadn't spec'd for the mirror, and I felt so bad because like we both open up super slow, and then I decide to throw everything down so I have the OTK next turn, but I bait him to go into the OTK himself to like try to force me, and I didn't play my Death Scythe that I had. I was like, okay, I've got 2 Laves and I've got a Scythe in hand, but I also had Final Forfeit.
Oh.
So he like flips and taps everything, and I'm like, okay, cool, Final Forfeit. And he's just like, oh. It's like, and 40 damage at you in the air with my Priscia. And he was like, okay, well, game 2. And then we're playing, and I had sideboarded, just for the mirror, I had sideboarded a hook.
Oh.
So I could flip into a hook. And so I'm thinking I'm not going to side into it because I'm like, he's Priscia, he's going to take the draw because in the mirror you want the draw. And so it's really bad for me to put this hook in my deck because I'm going to be on the play. So like it's a dead card. And then I'm shuffling up, and you're allowed to ask at any point in time whether your opponent's choosing to go first or second. And you, as your person, you're allowed to answer that whenever you want. You can choose not to answer. And so I get into the habit of like mid sideboarding. I'm like, hey, are you going to go first or second? Because sometimes people will answer. And he says, oh, I'm going to go first. I was like, oh, well, this hook is going into my in my deck. And then I open up Scythe, Hydro, Dork, and I'm like, oh, this is very, and Final Forfeit. I open those 4 cards. I'm like, oh, this is very good for me. And so then he goes like first turn Tama and doesn't play anything else. And I go, okay, cool. Well, I'll play this Death Scythe just to like lock that in. I'll play my Dork and I'll pass. And then he goes, okay, I will play this Elf, and then I will tap for Priscia, give it swiftness, and then I'll like play this other thing. And he like left himself completely open. So he's got 2 stones, and he's got a Dork that's tapped and nothing to block with because he swung with the Tama. He gave the Tama swiftness.
Oh.
I'm like, okay. So then I draw, and I'm like, man, flipping my Dork into hook would be really good here, but he'd still have 1 will. And then I top deck Lave, and I'm like, oh well, play Lave, top deck hook, flip, hook your 2 stones, swing into your Dork. And he's like, I think we're just done here. I was like, I'm sorry. That was the only time where I felt like real bad, like the whole tournament, because I was just like, I just didn't let him play, and I don't really like I don't like being that guy. I enjoy the interaction, but I was just like, I'm sorry. And then the other time I played against a friend in round 6, and we just made a gentleman's agreement to games 2 and 3 take out all our regalia.
That's pretty nice.
It's just fun. So we both did. We like showed each other that we were like taking them out. We were like, nope, no regalia. And then we ended up drawing because neither of us could hit anything in game 3. It was great.
That's awesome.
Like I like we kept like I would Izanagi and then he'd Izanagi me right back, and then like I'd still have a blocker. It's just like neither of us could find. We just like frig looping each other. And we're like, oh well, we ran out of time. But we all of our death sites and all of our Levitans just got pulled out of the decks. We were
Yeah.
like, he almost got pissed at me because I almost cited Blazer. He's like, if you cited Blazer game 3, I'm gonna kill you. I was like, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Yeah, no, I remember Joey the ARG back in when Zero was at its heyday, and he created his Zero Bomb deck, which was just a crap ton of Regalia essentially, and he went to the ARG and he went to the ARG and before he played or he was telling us, he's like, man, guys, I just want you to know I usually don't do this. I feel really bad about because he's like, I don't like making just this cheese deck, but I really just want to see if I can win. And he ended up winning. He won first, and he during the last game playing against the guy's just trying really hard, and Joey's just like, you could tell Joey felt bad, just Regalia, Percival, do that whole thing, flip. You can't block now and swing because that's flying, and it's just like
Yeah,
went
28
that combo.
Regalia's 0.
Yeah.
Dope.
I was gonna.
Ugh.
So there was the one question I'd asked you. I don't know if you had thought about it at all, but of the 10 rulers you think will be viable going forward, both that have been revealed to us and in Lapis Cluster.
Yeah. Okay. So, 10 rulers that I'm gonna go grab my ruler book. I have thought about this a little bit, but I like seeing this stuff. I think honestly, we're losing a lot of. We're simultaneously like not, but also are losing some of the like main graveyard hate in the game. So I honestly think Flute is pretty good. She's probably more on the low end, but like I still think she's got capability for sure. I definitely think that people should be maybe looking at Flute a little bit more. I think Charlotte will always be good. Like, I don't think Charlotte ever stops being good. Once she's just a really good control ruler. So I'm trying to look at like Alice cluster stuff or Lapis cluster stuff primarily. So of the ones we've revealed so far, though, from the new spoilers, I think that Kirik is very strong.
That seems both Oscar and I agreed on that. That we think.
I think Kirik is very, very competitively viable. Panda, I need to see more support from pandas. They feel really, really slow, and really, really wide. If that makes sense. Like the fact that his 4 main resonators require 4 different types of gems just means that you have to play this kind of really wide game. And it just doesn't feel like there's.
Yeah, assuming there's no gem destruction that gets introduced as well. If that's, then that ruler's pretty much gone, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's probably going to be gem destruction, but like you have to play in such a way that you have to diversify your gems, and there's not that many ways to like do that, at least in the structure. So like it just feels like you have to play really suboptimally just to be able to turn the deck on, which is not what you want to be doing when there's rulers like Kirik who just go, I'm just going to burn all your stuff. Like,
yeah.
It just seems like that's just really slow. The weather is rain is garbage. The weather is rain is a meme. Like, it's cute. It's very cute, but it's a meme.
I think it'll be cool if he did say they're going to introduce other web types. Having like 2 decks, like it's raining, like no, it's actually really sunny outside, and they're like, oh man, it's just this weather battle. I
just want there to be a sandstorm. I just want the weather to be sandstorm.
I just want to feel like I'm playing Pokemon. That's all I want.
Yeah. So like, it just feels really cute, and it doesn't really seem competitively viable. But like Kirik. Oh my gosh! Like Kirik,
especially with I asked the judge group and finding out that I can flip, get rid of all my
burn all the counters and then gain them all back.
I was like, oh shit! I was playing
because
with
it's
a handicap.
Yeah. No, that's like he flips and burns stuff for $1,000 and then gains 15 counters. And like with the stuff that we've seen, the spoilers yesterday,
It's true. If he has 10 counters
Just
and you put 10 counters on him and flip and you burn for 2,000 spread across their board and then gain
it's
15 back.
it's just so good. And like I loved the quick test. So like red, I talked about it in my spoiler video. Like red is losing a lot of consistency and draw power from the loss of Ruke and the loss of Guinevere.
Yeah.
However, they gave us that new addition, which I really like. The fact that it's a field pump, which naturally is what you kind of want for red because you want power, but then you can sacrifice power for consistency, which lets you just go grab what you need, which kind of replaces Rook Egg in a sense. And they got the power counter quick cast. Give yourself 5 counters, draw a card.
Yeah,
There's
no,
some draw power.
that's the first red
Like
card I've
that's
seen that draws a card, right? Like a spell. Yeah.
just like instant draw card. So like cantripping that way is really cool. Plus it heals Keurig, which is awesome. I really like the fact that he can do awakenings with strength counters on that spell because red primarily doesn't use a lot of will. Like it keeps its will count low. So like the fact that you can use this other resource, that's really good. Kame is crazy. That 4-drop creature is insane. And like just everything about the identity, it feels like what I wanted Rukeg and Guinevere to be for red, where it's not hyper fast, but red also isn't just throw everything on the field and then hope it sticks. Like red still feels like it's got pressure. Keurig still feels like he's got pressure, but he has to use it wisely, and he doesn't just burn out super fast, which I really, really like. So I think Keurig's definitely there of the new ones. I think Gil could be there, I guess. I need to see Gil's sealed item before I care about Gil. Because right now he just does what Alhamat does, but worse.
Yeah.
Like, and so like I'll just play Alhamat because his elemental spells also don't make me care. Like they aren't good enough.
Yeah.
But like
we've got to find out what those secret abilities are, because I feel
Yeah,
like some of them
for
could be complete game changers.
oh,
Theoretically.
agreed. I agree. Like Pandora's sealed item is the only reason I think that she's even something I would remotely touch.
Oh yeah.
Like without that sealed item, I'm like peace. I'm out. So let's see. So yeah, of the Lapis cluster, the Rhea cluster so far, Keurig is the only one I'm looking at. I think that from Lapis cluster, that Mikage is really good. I think that Charlotte's really good. I think that Zero will never not be good. At least as a solid tier 2. Like she's an anti-meta card. I think Fox is insane.
Yeah.
I think that Fox is tier 1. Like there's no doubt. Like Fox
And we're
Fox
losing the
transitioning.
counter, yeah.
Fox transitioning from Alice to Lapis loses 1 card, which is Keen Sense.
Yeah.
Like
he has a freaking Severing Wind, so.
yeah, and he can just play Severing Winds instead.
Yeah.
And he loses. I don't think you can play pure green black Fox anymore because you lost Dance of Shadows, which is a pretty viable card. But I think red Fox is probably where he transitions because you can play End of Days.
Yeah.
Which is how you deal with, because like the reanimate stuff is how Fox deals with control matchups, because you just bring everything back and then overflow them. But End of Days just does that. You just play red. So Fox. Let's see. I'm trying to count here. So Mikage, Charlotte, Zero, Fox. Priscia probably never leaves.
Yeah, no, that's.
She's
very
still,
versatile.
She's still
with
there. She
a lot
is
of different,
very
yeah.
versatile.
Like the random thing with the 8 cost card. Now I'm forgetting the 7 or 8 card.
Lumia probably stays, just because Lumia offers a lot of versatility.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Lumia you can't play Reanimator anymore in a weird way, but I think you can still do some goofy stuff with her. I actually think that Gil Lapis 2 has a place. Because I have to I have to see what else comes out for black. Like we haven't seen any Rhea stuff for black yet, so I need to see what comes out there. But being able to just say, "Hey, your deck's pretty cool. I'd like to use that," can get really good. Like you can steal stuff and makes really good. I don't think anything from Echoes outside of Flute. I said Flute.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, especially with Jordan confirming that they're not going to support the books any point forward, and they're not going
Yeah.
to support with Wanderer resonators. Like all that's just dead now. It's like, well,
So
all right.
and Malefic Tree lost like all of its strength with Alice Cluster. It lost Torching the Timeline. It lost Memory of Disappearance. It lost Ifrit Glass. It lost all the Regalia. It lost Veil Savarian, which is a great card.
Oh, yeah.
Like it loses loses Seal. So like it loses a lot of its support, which I just think that just makes it a dead deck. So yeah, and then Keurig, and then probably Al. Like I think Al's still there. We have to build him differently though because we don't have space time anomaly. I think we transitioned back to a more green butterfly. To be honest, I think we transitioned to a list like Danes from GP Tacoma, just utilizing this new cancel spell from Gil's list instead of the new cancel spell from Gil's list instead of Seal. You just play the 3 green cancel anything instead of green white cancel anything. But I think and you lose space time, but we still have Charlotte's and we have Unseen Pressure back. Because it's in Vingolf, so like there's still some versatility there, and we've still got Scorn, and we've still got Nameless. We lose Lapis's Darkstorm, which in some guild lists was pretty good, but we'll have to see. Eddie, the only ancient magic he lost was Moonbeam.
That's true. Yeah. Well.
But we still have J Ruler hate in the form of things like Glorious. So I think like green white.
But at least you
Alhamot
can chase stuff now.
Yeah, green white Alhamot still seems strong in my opinion, especially now that we've seen that he's getting a new cancel spell. I think that green white Al is still a deck, and Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly it's a good card. Like it's just a good card, and I definitely think that that's going to be a card that Gil Alhamot probably utilizes. It's probably going to be a standard 4 of in Gil lists. I could be wrong. Someone could prove me completely wrong, and I'm okay with that. But I definitely think we still see Gil Alhamot see a lot more play, because in terms of control rulers, like there really isn't a better one, especially when the format gets slower. Like when you don't have to deal with things rushing at your face all the time, and you can play patient, and you can pick your moments, Gil Alhamot, I think, shines in those scenarios. And Gil Alhamot also has a really strong Fox matchup. So
Oh yeah.
I think that Gil's probably going to be pretty well placed, which is great because we're all about to get a bunch of Uber Gils.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited about that. Fingers crossed, no one pumps in a bunch of codes and pushes us out of a top 5.
I have some connections to make sure that I get my hands on one of those, but I'm currently a little bit safe. But I'm as long as 100 people don't suddenly pump in and jump up. But yeah. I've got some connections for some codes, and I've got some connections for some people who are pretty high up on the food chain there to hopefully get my hands on one.
We're getting in at minimum 2 books at least. We have 2 books secured.
Nice. Awesome.
We're hoping to. Right now, at least, we're secured for the guild, but that'll be a fun video to film when those come in the mail.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But yeah, I think one thing I was telling. Well, your top 10 is almost identical to Oscar's top 10, which is pretty funny. The only thing I think was different was he put Kaguya 4.0 that he thinks will be viable in some fashion.
I mean, I can kind of see her. I guess in the same sense that like, because like she's losing one counterspell and gaining another, you can still play the bajillion counterspells deck. but like that, I just don't like that deck
Yeah, it's
because I think
interesting.
I think that if you just know how to play around it, you just win.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
and it's not hard, I think. Uh, I mean, granted, I haven't played against Brandon Bremont piloting it, so maybe there's something I'm missing, and I will be the first to attest that I might be completely wrong about that. But just in my testing against it and friends testing against it, it's a one trick pony, and once you figure out the trick and go know how to play around it, you just win. And like that's. eh,
yeah, no, that's what I sort of like. Granted, it's just our locals, but playing against it, I had my Swordsman of Fire Wanderer deck, but I don't have all the cards for it. I don't have any Severing
Right.
Winds, or so I created a Frankenstein hodgepodge a couple minutes before it started, and I was able to. I lost to the Kaguya, but but only because I started dead drawing game 3. But it was sort of, yeah. Once you figure out what that specific version of the deck is about, it's relatively easy. Like I was using Wukong to bounce up the edition that pulls out 3 cards from game, and now all of a sudden
So
it's
then
just like,
it's a
what are you
dead
gonna do?
card and the
Yeah.
last 3 cards. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like that deck just loses to sticking creatures. Like if you stick a creature, then you're ahead. Like you're way ahead against that deck because it like especially if you can stick creatures with barrier, um, or have ways to protect your stuff. So like simple counter cards, if you're playing something like white, would be like Millium. This is an 8/8 that you can't target.
Yeah. No.
Ta-da! Like there are just cards that you could just get around. I think pretty fairly easily. It was just a matter of like you just have to know how to play against it. So, and the other thing is, if I was going to play Kaguya, I wouldn't play 12 cancels. I'd play like a really heavy control variant, and we're losing all the cards that I would want for that. We're losing Black Moonbeam, we're losing Lapis Darkstorm, and we're losing Space Time. Those 3 cards, I think, make bug control outside of Alhamat very difficult. That's the direction I'd want to take Kaguya. You can play, and the other thing is you can't even play White Kaguya because the only reason you'd play White Kaguya is for Tsukiyomi Nobu, which we're losing, um,
Yeah.
and Shining Strike, which we're losing. um, so you can't play White Kaguya either, and then you just cry.
I'd at the what do you think of this? I was telling Oscar that I have a like idea of like perhaps post rotation that we're going to see certain rulers such as, obviously I could be a little bit biased here, but rulers such as Soul, obviously like
Mhm.
Lumia and Alhaman and stuff like that. But these sort of rulers that came out that were dual colors with dual energized and have stones that have extra effects plus dual colors to with the what are they called, shit rocks or whatever. And with my soul deck, I have 10 stones, and no matter what stone, I always have red or blue with it. That
Red
sort of
blue.
consistency. Do you think having that dual consistency will make some sort of rulers that didn't work before post rotation suddenly become viable in a world of mono rulers?
Um, I mean, it gives you versatility, that's for sure. The question becomes with decks like Mercurius and Soul, and not necessarily as much Alhamat because Alhamat just gets to cheat.
Yeah.
Um, but Soul, Mercurius, and Mars is they are only as strong as their archetypal spells. And I think what we're seeing here with Legacy Lost is we're going way back in time. And I think we're going to start to see elemental magic versus ancient magic. Um, and I think and seeing tonight that Gil uses elemental magic, it's kind of hard for me to think that we might be seeing ancient magic.
Yeah.
So at which point it's like, well, okay, they're not getting any support. And that the theory's out on who Gil is. Personally, my buddy Paul and I were talking. We were like, "Is Gil Alhamat?" And I was like, "I don't think it's Alhamat. I think it's maybe like an ancestor of Alhamat." But
Yeah, because we have. I feel like Alhamad is older than that. Like he even in however far back Jordan was explaining it, but he would still at that point in time look older, or wouldn't he?
Yeah,
Or am I?
I don't think I don't think Gil is Alhamon because we're like 2,000 years in the past or whatever. Um, so I don't think
In a
it's
different
Alhamon.
timeline on top of that too.
Is it a different timeline?
That's how it was really weird how Jordan was explaining it. But from what he said, we're going back in time, but in a different reality. So it's similar
Oh,
things.
alternative
Yeah.
dimensions.
So not
Ah,
everything is
so I
necessarily
blame
set.
flute. So I blame flute. So maybe it is Gil Alhamon. Who knows? Maybe flute's making things wibbly wobbly. Um, but yeah, so it's really dependent on whether or not we see more ancient magics. But in terms of the other dual rulers, so let me look at here. So dual rulers such as Valentina 2 or Valentina 3.
Yeah,
Uh,
we haven't seen much of her. Well, we might have, and I missed it, but I haven't
we
seen.
yeah Val 3, Faria,
Yeah.
like I said, Gil Lapis Red Black. Milliam's never getting no. Card's bad. Um, they just they were so close to being able to make him competitive. They were so
I
close, but they changed one. They made one error. Made one freaking error. Is the fact that his cost reduction is for every 4 dragon power counters. Make it for every 2, and he'd be fine.
see.
Freaking
I
4 dragon counters, garbage.
I have a soft spot for. Well, I before Mailing 2.0 came out, I ran Mailing 1.0, just
Yeah,
which was as my friends will always point out. I was the biggest. As soon as they introduced the force mechanic and spoilers, I was the biggest one that was freaking out about this could be the I if it becomes a big thing, I might like not want to play Force of Will type of thing, and I started to play because it was just really fun,
just
and
he,
I started playing
he
Mailing.
could have been he could have been a contender.
He's a
Could
contender
have
at my locals, and that's all that matters.
he could have been a contender,
The
man.
fact that every time I J activate, I get a crowd of a couple people coming over to watch me roll makes
A
makes it
bajillion dice.
whether or not I win or lose makes it worth it. It's the only
Yeah.
Uber I've actually bought. I bought it from Barcadia at the GP, just cause. But yeah, no, I agree. Every time I play him, because I only play him once every month or two right now, but I'll go and I'm like, oh, am I ready to J activate? And it is that problem. I look, and I'm like, oh shit, it's every 4 counters. I was like, that doesn't seem right. That takes a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes forever. Even if it was just every 3, I'd be fine. But like 4 is just too much.
Or if it was instead of every force roll, it was per dice you rolled. So when you play Pandora, all of a sudden you're pumping them super fast. Something like
Yeah.
that could help.
It is what it is. Milliam will just always suck.
Yeah, no, they're not going to do any force support for sure. And they could, who knows, Vingol 4, which Vingol 4, yeah, they could introduce stuff that, he said if anything gets random support like Wanderer Resonators, Book of Despair, anything like that, it'll be in Vingol. So
Yeah, which
maybe
makes sense.
they could introduce a Book of, or, a Despair card that says, hey, this card can never be destroyed, and all Book of Despair Resonators can never be destroyed. And you're like, oh, all right, now this is a viable ruler. But
Yeah, because Book of Light's way more like of the 2. Book of Light is way more viable than Book of Dark.
it has some cool combos going for it, but it just can't survive without getting continuous support against all the stuff coming out.
Yeah.
But speaking of this triggered another thing in Vingolf. See, this is another thing that was like I'm not worried because I feel like Force of Will is doing really good. Like it seems like it's doing good across the board for the most part. But like I'm worried because like there's supposed to be another Vingolf coming out, and they canceled that one. And
I think I actually am pretty happy about them canceling the other Vingolf. Because I think Force of Will, and I think we're seeing it more with this set, like everything so far in these spoilers in the structure deck, feels very like cared for. In the sense that it feels very much like it's not being rushed anymore. They're really stopping and thinking like beyond. Whoa, my camera is freaking out. what happened. There we
There you
go.
go. Yeah.
So like it feels very much like they're saying, let's not just think about what this means for the next month. Let's stop and think about what this decision means for the next 6 months. Let's stop and think about what this decision means for the next year. Let's look at what other companies are doing and let's figure out why they're doing it and why that's the smart play. I think when they first announced 2 VIN golfs a year, I was like, that's too much product for people to be buying every year, especially when they're saying they want to pump up the strength of VIN golfs to VIN golf 3 status. Like, because then you're looking at 5 structure decks, 4 sets, and 2 VIN golfs. So also the new sets are 150 cards now, which means 3 boxes is not going to get you a full play set. You're probably going to need to go to 4, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one of each of the structure decks. That puts you up to not 9 things purchased, and then 2 VIN golfs, which you each need 2 copies of each VIN golf in order to be able to have a play set. So that puts you up to 13 separate large purchases that you need to make in order to have every card for a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to drive people away. It's just going to do it. And I think that seeing things like the decision to only do 1 VIN golf a year, that already knocks 2 things off your purchase list. Seeing things like the starter decks. I love the starter decks so far, and I love the fact that the spoiler article we got for Ancient Knights showed a direct connection to the structure decks.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like this is so like the reason why I like that is because if you're a person who is just getting into the game, you can buy the structure deck that you're interested in and then go buy packs and then immediately get stuff that's designed for that structure deck. So it gets you in, but you don't have to buy the full box. You also don't have to invest in a box to have something to be able to play. The old structure decks, there wasn't a ton of support in the core set for those structure decks. Like the person who got the most support was Mercurius because they didn't give her finishing spell in the main freaking deck. That was the only one who really got like true pure support from the set. But like in this way, you can buy the Keurig deck and be like, wow, this is really fun, but I want to spice it up. Oh, Ancient Knights has cards in it that are directly intended to be played with this deck. That's really cool. I'm going to go buy some packs. Or in the same way, a person who maybe doesn't want to play everything, like other people, might buy a box, see what they pull, and then buy a structure deck to complement what they pulled.
Yeah.
Which means that that's really cool because now you don't have, because again, with 3 rulers a set, you don't have to go headhunting for rulers anymore because the structure decks are not standalone in the sense that you can buy a box, figure out a ruler that you like from the structure decks, and then like just merge them. Or you have a box that say you're a guy who doesn't have a ton of money to spend, but you buy a box, right, of Ancient Knights, and you crack it open and you get the starter deck rulers or the 5 basic rulers or whatever, and you get a bunch of packs. And there was one ruler you really wanted and you're really hyped for, but you didn't pack him. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're either going to go to the singles market, have to pay a bunch of money for the ruler, which are going to be more expensive now because we're only getting 3 rulers per set, or you can buy another box and hope to get lucky, or you can take a look at what you packed and go, which of the starter decks complements what I packed? And then you can go buy a structure deck that has a ruler that you immediately want to play. And I think that's really smart. I think that the way that they're structuring sets and everything else feels very much like it is designed to say, if you really want to get into this game really hard, we're going to give you that opportunity and you can buy a bunch of stuff and you can really max it out and you get a ton of experience out of it. If you're not looking to do that, you can also come here in a very, very obvious way. And I think it feels more like they're thinking about the community rather than thinking about money. because I think the initial gut reaction, and I don't know the company, I'm not in the company, I'm not a part of the company, I don't know. But when I first heard that they were like, oh yeah, we're going to do 2 VinGolfs a year, it definitely felt like a gut reaction to seeing how well VinGolf 3 launched, that they were like, oh, we'll just make another one.
Yeah.
And so when they cut it, it was like, okay, now that they've thought about it and go, you know what, that's not what we should be doing. Um, and I like that because I think it means that the company is just thinking more.
That's a good point. Yeah, and um, I
Like,
I think
yeah,
it's evidenced by the fact that we haven't gotten another Guardian of the Forest card in a while. Uh, the the four cost bear or whatever that was. As great of a card it was, but yeah, and I'm hoping that they fix other like little things too, like the fact like we went in to do a draft and we're like, cool, dude, a while back with Legacy Lost, and we drafted and realized that it was the second print run, and the cards were honestly pretty crappy quality compared to what they should be. And it's like, well, I feel like I kind of wasted money because there's not even like texture on the full arts I pulled, and the ones that are normal cards, the color is dull. So I'm hoping that with the new cluster that they're fixing a lot of these little sort of tiny things they're hearing feedback. It sounds like they figured out like little things like changing the design of the booster box so it can store your cards. Like, it's such a weird thing to think to do, but like that's something like that got me super excited, and I'm like, well, shoot, now I have to get a booster box.
Magic doesn't even do that.
Yeah, it's such a smart idea, and it comes with your basic stones, so you don't get these crappy
Yep, don't get them in packs.
Yeah, in packs.
Which makes drafting easier. It comes with the draft rulers, and the other thing is too is now a box has three uses. So you can buy it for cards, and then use it for storage. So that's 2 uses, or you can go in on a friend on a box and have a draft.
Yeah, which we've done. Yeah.
It just like in itself, like I think that is like Magic has draft sets, right? Magic does Conspiracy, which is designed for like that kind of special type of draft, and like it has stuff like that. And every set is like, because it has so many cards, it can always be drafted. But like, I think Force of Will including that is an excellent way to draw in players, because one of the things that I've experienced a lot with, and this is something I just do myself anyway, but like one of the things I've experienced from my friends who play Magic is I'll show them the game and they get really interested in it, and I'll let them borrow a deck and they'll play it and they'll get hyped, and then they'll be like, how do I get these cards? And I go, you have to buy a box, because I can't give them my cards because I only keep a playset. If I'm at a tournament, and like the prize is like packs, 99% of the time what I'll do is I will crack the packs to see if I might get a god pack or something really shiny. I'll keep the code cards, and if it's not something super exciting, I go to the person who did like the worst or the person who's newest in the event, and I just hand them the cards. I'm like, I don't need more cardboard, and like it's not worth it to me. But like the thing is with a draft, I have a way to do that one, doesn't break my bank, and 2, helps people learn the game and then get to keep cards. Like I can just go, hey, you guys want to do a draft of Force of Will? Like we'll buy a box, and like I don't even need to keep what I pull. Like I'll just do the draft with you guys, and then we'll just play, and it'll be fun, and it'll teach you, and I'll pay into it, and I won't even keep what I pull, and we'll just play. And like the fact that I'm going to be able to do that, and I think that other people are going to be able to do that if they make that commitment, is massive.
And it's so nice too, because it's not even like how it was in a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, we'll buy this booster box and it's draft ready. You know, the packs are designed for it and do it. Not only is that, it's like you buy a booster box, it's draft ready. Hey, here's rulers. Everyone gets a ruler no matter what to play with, and here's stones. We don't even have to bring our big. Well, we might still have to, but for the.
I keep my personal set of stones on me.
Oscar's got a little briefcase full of stones, but it's still, you know, the thought that counts type of thing. You almost are pretty much just ready to go just by just grabbing that small box and just setting on the table, and you're like,
Yeah. And so like a 4-person draft, like most booster boxes are so a four-person draft, you need 6 packs. So you need 6 packs to be able to draft Force of Will, if I remember correctly. It's 6, I think it's 6. I'm going to look at the rules. Because I don't want to look like an idiot, except I look like an idiot right now. But anyway, so it's get the 4 rules out here because I keep all these Force documents on my phone because this game is my life. Nope, that's not it. That's tournament procedure. Penalty guidelines, so don't cheat. Here we go. So draft. Okay, so draft you need 4 packs to be able to draft Force OL. So 36 means that you get 8 people together, and then so you can do an 8-man pod draft for every box of Force OL you purchase, with 4 packs left over to randomly go into the prize pool. Woo! Like, you can't argue with that. Like, so you get, even if you do a 4-man draft, then you like split the prizes even further, which is really cool, because then you do 16 packs and there's still 20 packs left. So hell, you can do 2. Like, you can do 2, like 1. Like, let's see. Let me break it down. So like $110 a box is average. So then you get 4. So then you get 4 people to buy into it. That puts it like $27.50 a person. Yeah. So like if 4 people buy in, so for less than $30, you get 2 4-man draft pods.
Yeah, no, that's and
4 packs left over.
Yeah.
And
the winner, I assume, would get the nice storage box.
Yeah, and the winner can get the storage box, and everybody can and everybody can just walk away with a ruler. Like, yeah, like come on, man, that's just really good. I think that's just a way that we're gonna get players into this game in a big way. I wish that I could go to a game store more, but like more than the one day a week that I can. My old job, I would stop into the game store every single day. And I would probably be like, yo, you want to draft Force Will? Buy another box. Force Will? Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I think that seeing this draft stuff, like seeing the way they're structuring it and everything else and the way it's building, it just feels like it's more, they're really understanding how they're going to get there and what they need to do to really hook people into committing to this game. And I think that they're prioritizing that over making a bunch of money. And I just think back to the old adage of like when you start a business, you assume that the first few years are going to be in debt.
Yeah.
And I think that it feels like the company has accepted that and is now like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to commit and we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, especially. Yeah, I feel like Lapis Cluster was a really nice step in the next, but I feel like Ray Cluster is like where they're like looking to head from everything from what they're doing quality and design wise to the even down to like power levels of cards. They're like individual. There's no individually strong cards from what I can tell for the most part. It's cards that cumulatively as a whole can beat out a lot of single strong cards, but it feels like on the whole it's a lower power level so far. It's a lower power level.
Kame is the only card that I disagree with you on that on.
Yeah, well,
that guy's nuts. But anyway, but like you have to have bombs like that to hype people up, and he's in the set, not the structure deck, which gets people to buy packs. But someone told me this joke once when we got into Lapis Cluster, and I think it holds really true. Grim Cluster was the alpha for the game. Alice Cluster was the beta for the game, and Lapis Cluster moving forward is the real game.
What was Valhalla?
Valhalla is play testing before we pitch it to an investor.
The investor's like, yeah, this there's some weird player models you got going on. How about we just start from scratch and keep the anime stuff?
Yeah, we'll just start there. And I mean, it kind of holds true. And so now that we're seeing Alice cluster rotate, I think Lapis cluster is really going to shine, and I think Ray cluster is really going to shine. And I'm just hyped, just super hyped.
Awesome. Um, cool. I before I forget one. That's Oscar texting me. Um,
Hi, Oscar.
Oscar, one thing before I forget, when he was talking about the whole ruler school videos he had watched for you, he wanted to say that was watching those ruler school videos was also one of the things that first got him the idea for us to start a YouTube channel. He's the one who came
Oh,
to me
that's
to start
awesome.
the YouTube channel, and I was like, all right, I've done a YouTube channel before. I'm sure we can do this.
That's really cool.
Uh, so he wants to say thank you for that. But,
Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool to um, see the different content that has been born for this game. I think my buddy Paul and I are constantly just devouring. It took me a while to get Paul to buy in because we played Kaijudo together, and like since Kaijudo died, like life just has kind of been weird for him, and so like it's taken a really long time for me to like sink a hook for this game into him. But I've been trying like so hard, and so now that he has, he's just like he's going so hard, and like and so we're the two of us together just download like eating up all the content we can have. And when the game first came out, there was Kaifu from Australia. There was Force of Will UK, which was David Hartley. And then there was Force of Will US, which is now Six Sages Gaming. And so then there was me. We were the ones. We were it. And then Kaifu got real slow. He still produces stuff, which is really cool. I haven't met him. I would love to meet him. So Kaifu still does work. Force of Will UK, David Hartley now is part of Until Gaming, so he does content production more in the form of articles for them, as far as I know, and like work on their website. So he doesn't put out videos anymore. Force of Will US became Six Sages Gaming, and then transitioned to Final Fantasy TCG. So then there's me. And so there was a time where there was this void where I was like, oh my, it feels like I'm the only one doing anything. But
am I doing the right thing?
I feel like the world's on my shoulders, and I'm a crew of one, so I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
But then you guys popped up, and I've really enjoyed. You guys hit a content area that I can't really hit all the time, which is great. I love the news roundups that you guys do. I be sure to check those out every single week because I can't watch the Q&As. And so it's really cool to have that kind of like really succinctly put together. So that's a really cool, and I like that. I like that it's nice to see that there's another channel out there that's not super focused on hyper competitive like deck profiles and stuff. Because we have until gaming for that. Like,
yeah, well, that was my thought because when Oscar first pitched the idea, I was like, what? And we're thinking of names and stuff, and Scrubs came up because we're like, we're not that great. And I was like, I really want, because I was thinking of stuff like I would want to watch. And I was like, I want to see something where it's not like this crazy competitive. I want to see a deck that I can take to my locals, easy to make, and something that I know might do decent at my locals. I don't want to take Prisha OTK to my locals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
it's not
and
kill
so
the game.
yeah, it keeps like when Force Will News, it was like one day I was like, we were talking about listening to the Q&A because we hadn't listened to it in a while. And I was like, yeah, it's hard to find time for that sometimes. I was like, I bet a lot of people have trouble with that. I'm sure it'd be easy for a lot of people if we just made like a news segment. It's
been really helpful. I hope that more people pay attention to it. I hope you guys keep doing it because it's been really. I know I've found it really helpful.
I like doing it. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then there's you guys. There's Jay Ruler, who does the podcast, Ruler in the Beats, who I would say is more adult than maybe I'm interested in. But I mean, there are players out there who like that kind of stuff. So like those kind of long form podcasts.
Oscar loves those.
So like people really dig that, and that's not something that I can do. I have like even this conversation we're having right now is very outside of the norm of what I can do, because with doing the spoiler coverage, with doing commentary for feature matches and the editing for feature matches in post, with doing deck profiles and having locals and a full-time job and being a husband and being a dad, like it takes a lot of time. So like it's
Oh yeah.
cool that these other channels have started existing and doing stuff that I can't, because it just means that I don't think I don't think anyone benefits from when their content and media only comes from one source. I think that creates bias. I think that creates um, an echo chamber, in the sense of like you're only getting your stuff from one place, and we all have different opinions on things, and we all have different backgrounds, and we all have different styles. And so it's been really cool to see like you, Jay Ruler, myself. There's Negative Legend, who branches out a lot, um, but
Uh,
he does good stuff, and he does a lot of unboxings, and he's got the connection to like I see him as more of like the box opening kind of guy, because that's what he does a lot of,
yeah.
um, which is cool because I don't do those very much.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people do those.
We were doing that hard at the beginning, and then we dropped off. We're like, like people watch it, but it's like there's enough stuff out. We'll do it when we buy this products. It's like might as well film
Yeah,
it, but we don't go out of our way anymore. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's Kaifu still does stuff, which I really like, because then we get to see a little bit of what the international community does.
Yeah.
Force of Will Italy has started doing their GP streams for video on demand on YouTube, which, if you just mute them because we can't understand them, are great. And like again, it shows you a side of the competitive nature that we don't get to see here in the United States. Um, and there are other channels, that do lots of stuff, and there are live streamers who do stuff on Twitch. I know a lot of people have maybe wished that the live streams for the GPs have maybe were a little bit better, or they have complaints about it. But like Nick Heel in the Force of Will US Twitch channel, he has had a stream at least for every GP, and that's been a really big help to a lot of people to be able to see that, even if they have complaints about it. It just feels like we're not. We have a lot more content that covers a lot more ground,
There's not a
and
lot
that's
of
really good.
repetition either. Like
Right.
each like you mentioned, like I feel like our main themes is like the Force Will news, maybe a little bit the spoiler talk, and different things like that. Jay Ruler, like I said, has got the podcast, and they have the I believe that they're the ones that do the top 10 as well, right? The
Yeah,
top 10 cards.
they do the top 10
I like
cards, and
those a lot.
they do the market
Yeah, yeah,
watch
yeah. I
too.
like those videos a lot, and um, like you said, obviously you have quite a large variety actually on yours, and
I always
like
feel like I'm racing everybody for the spoilers. I'm like, I gotta get them,
I know
gotta get the spoilers out first.
uh, I was doing that during the summer because my work schedule, I was home, and so I was like, all right, spoilers are out, read them, edit I edit upload create the thing. I was more so just curious how fast I could upload them stuff, and now with switching back to my normal work schedule, I physically I just can't film it when they come out, so I'm like, well, midnight's close enough now, but
Yeah, I remember my first interactions with Negative Legend, like actually talking with him, was back when he was doing the spoiler articles pretty hard. And his first message to me, I think, was like, "Dude, how do you get spoiler articles up so fast?" And I'm like, "I just like go right to my computer after they come out and just sit down and record." Like, because I just do it right then. But it like you said, there's not a lot of repetition in the content, and I think that's really good, um, because then it doesn't feel like you're watching the same video a bunch, and it feels like it's very easy to be able to watch multiple content producers in that way, because you don't have to worry about overlap, and I just think that's a good thing.
oh yeah. Um, I won't take too up more of your time. I'm sure you got plenty of
Yeah,
stuff to do. Uh,
sleep mostly, but
yeah.
it's fine.
I thank you a lot for doing this. Like you said, I know it's not in your norm to talk for this long,
No, it
but
was good. It was good.
it
Yeah,
was
it
a
was good to
nice
be able to talk with you
conversation.
guys.
Yeah. I was fortunate that the one time when I scheduled it, their first time, literally that I've ever seen that there wasn't not only not a stream, but no notice that there wasn't going to be one, which is super
Yeah,
weird. But
that is weird.
I don't know if you had seen, but we're going to be doing a. At some point, it's taken a long time to make, but we're doing a story mode for the Force of lore, where
Ooh.
we have like 5 different people doing voices, and we're gonna do full to the best of our ability animation of cars,
Please,
sound effects.
please sign me up for that.
Yeah.
I will totally do guest cameos. Send me some scripts and I'll record some stuff
Oh.
for sure. I already had wanted to do that kind of thing anyway, so it's cool. So now I can just back off and let you guys run it. I actually joked about, we talked about the Force of Will movie. I didn't originally know that it was apparently being produced in all languages at the same time. And so I had thought about the idea of once it gets released in Japan, that I was going to do a fan dub, and get like all of the major like competitive players, all of the major YouTubers and everything else, and do like a big collab project. And then Jordan was like, no, we're doing it in English too, and I was like, oh well, that's getting scrapped. But this is really cool. So feel free to send me a script.
fan dub of that with all that. That would still be pretty cool.
Yeah, feel free to send me a script. Be happy to do some of that. Just anything Grimm. So Grimm, if you need an actor for Grimm or anything like that, you let me know. So yeah, send me some scripts if you guys want, and I'll be happy to join in on that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, we'll do. Well, thanks a lot, and
yeah, absolutely.
If you guys are still here and don't know, I'll have his link to his channel in case for some reason you guys are subscribed to us but not him, which would be super weird. But
it happens. It's okay.
But yeah, I'll talk to you sometime soon in the future, actually.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Put some gloves on my head.
Oh yeah, the gloves. They have to
the
make a cameo.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, and we'll have to do this again sometime in the future.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully with news. See ya.
All right.